Part 1 of how I stole my boyfriend's side chick. My boyfriend Zach and I decided to check out a new restaurant in town for date night. We got in his car and started to head out. He usually has better cell coverage than me, so we were using the navigation on his phone to get to the new spot. I noticed his buddy from work, Matt, was texting him as usual. However, this time I noticed the heart emojis out of the corner of my eye at the top of the screen from Matt, which I thought was weird. I started to think about it, and Matt would always text pretty late at night, and my boyfriend always seemed really happy when texting him. I played it off like I was going to look for a faster route, picked up his phone, and quickly copied down the number. When we got to the restaurant, I started paying attention and noticed Zach texting throughout our date. The next day, I called the number and a girl named Jessica answered. He saved her number under Matt and told me he was a buddy from work for months. We started talking and she told me that she had no idea that he had a girlfriend. She also told me that they met on Tinder and they've been talking for a while.
Part 2 about my psychotic best friend. So like I said, my sister was like, no, what are you talking about? So at this point, I'm thinking, oh, this girl's really weird. But it gets even worse. She comes over my house one day to hang out with me and goes in my sister's room the whole time. My sister dyed her hair black, so what does she do? She dyes her hair black too. The obsession was like really fucking weird. Anyway, so the one night that Gia's over, yes, I still had her over after this because I didn't think it was really weird at the time. My sister had her boyfriend over and they were in the living room watching a movie, and the whole time Gia is begging me to go in the living room and watch the movie with them. So I'm like, fine, whatever, we'll do that. We go into the living room, we all sit on the couch, and my couch is kind of small, so like we all had to squish. So she sits her ass right next to my sister's boyfriend. Well, my sister's boyfriend got up and started freaking the fuck out. Well, turns out that Gia was trying to touch him under the blanket. So I told her to leave. The next day I got a whole paragraph of her saying that she just wanted to be like my sister because she never had an older sister.
Story time about when a client came to get her nails done by me just because she thought I was messing with her boyfriend. So right off the jump, when this girl was booking her appointment, it was already like iffy. Like she was going back and forth. Like booking an appointment with me is simple. Inbox me about time, send your deposit. If any of those times, go with your schedule, and that's it. Your appointment is booked. But she kept going back and forth, asking me 1,000,001 questions. And right when I was going to be like, you know what, that spot's gone. Even though it wasn't gone, she ended up sending her deposit and booked her appointment. So anyways, the day of her appointment comes. She's like 20 minutes late, and I usually give a 15-minute grace period, but she was my last person, so I was like, whatever, I'll still take you. So at her appointment, she's like asking me all these personal questions that you don't ask anybody. Like she even asked me if I was like still messing with my baby daddy.
Girls, tell me about a time where your quick thinking probably saved your life. I'll go first. 2 years ago, I was walking my dog at the park and a man approached me and asked to take a picture of her. And I said yes, because why not? It's a picture of a dog. So we started taking a picture of my dog, and then I realized that he was like holding up her collar, and then it hit me. My address is on that collar. He's not taking a picture of my dog, he's taking a picture of my address. So I told him that I actually didn't feel comfortable with him having a picture of my dog, and I asked him to delete it. So he deletes it and then like starts walking away really fast. And I was like, excuse me, sir, no, could you also go into your deleted album and delete it from there? And he goes, I don't have a deleted album. And I was like, you have an iPhone, everybody has a deleted album, could you?
This is a story of the time that I caught my neighbor's mom talking smack about me. So I don't know about you guys, but every single Wednesday in my middle school, we would have a bagel sale. And some people's parents would come in to help out. And my neighbor's mom was one of those parents. And I had a best friend at the time whose mom would also work at the bagel sales. But this best friend of mine, her mom never let us hang out with each other because she felt that I was a bad influence on her. When in reality, it was the complete opposite. She was the one that snuck the boys in her house, if you guys remember that story time, where they peed in a flower pot. So basically her mom wouldn't let us hang out. And sometimes my friend would go with her mom in the morning, basically as a ride to school, and to help out with the bagels too. And one day when she went in with her mom, my neighbor's mom also was there too. So my friend starts eavesdropping into their conversation, and my friend's mom brings me up and says how much of a bad kid I am and a bad influence. And my neighbor's mom was like, oh wow, that's my neighbor, like we always suspected something bad about her, our whole entire neighborhood knows this about her, basically making stuff up about me. So then I go home crying.
This is going to be a story time of when my stepbrother killed our dog and fed it to me and my little sister for dinner. Let's get right into it. So my mom had died when I was younger and my dad had remarried. So I had a stepmom and she had a son. This motherfucker, let me tell you, we did not get along. I fought with him all the time, but it's because he was a little bitch. He would always bully me and my little sister and make fun of our weight. He would threaten to beat us up just for fun. Like, you in our house, get it together. I began to scold my dad because he was the one who brought them in this fucking house and he wasn't doing nothing about it. He knew they were tearing our family apart and he did nothing. So, anyways, one night, parents weren't home and my stepbrother had to watch me and my little sister. Like I said, he was a little bitch, so he was upset because he had plans to hang out with his girlfriend. But that really sounds like a personal problem. Let me stop coming at this man. It's just making me angry thinking about it. So my dad had sent my stepbrother money so he could go get groceries so he could make us dinner. But my stepbrother didn't want to, so he sent me instead. Oh, mind you, I was like 12 at the time. And he sent me alone and my little sisters were sleeping. When I came home and knocked on the door, I noticed that our dog didn't run up to see who was at the door like she usually did. Then I smelled something coming from the kitchen, like for part 2.
Stupid ass red truck chasing me on the motherfucking freeway and he the one in the wrong because I'm going 80 in the fast lane. He want me to go faster, but he can get the fuck around. So because he didn't go around, he's sticking his middle finger up at me and shit. And when I notice, I'm like, who, me? And he all like, basically, yeah. So, you know, I'm going slow now. So he speed around and shit and try to stop. So I took my cold grape crush and threw that bitch at his car and hit his headlight. So now he looking for something in his car. He found the flashlight. He threw it at my car, but he missed. So he chasing. I hop off on 200.
Some of you may recognize these hands. This client is a housekeeper who works at a large hotel chain. She came into her appointment today with a pretty unsettling story and allowed me to share it. So one day she was working her shift as usual and cleaned many rooms in the process. Later that day, closer to the end of her shift, her manager called her into her office and told her that she was being accused of stealing. My client told me as a housekeeper that's one of her worst fears because unfortunately it's not uncommon. Something goes missing, blame the housekeeper. A woman staying in one of the rooms my client cleaned told the front desk that her watch was missing. My client swore up and down that she would never take anything or risk losing her job. The woman even wanted to call the cops. After my client almost getting fired, the woman's 6-year-old son admitted that he took the watch and just wanted to play a prank on his mom. He thought it'd be funny.
Story time. So my sister went semi-viral. She went to Walmart last week and my nephew threw his stuffed plushie up to the ceiling and got it stuck. So she tried getting it down with another stuffed plushie. Then that one got stuck to lol. It was so funny. I didn't realize it was my sister on my FYP until I saw her name. It took a week, but Walmart was able to get his toy down and also commented on her video. Her username's at Rachel_Gomez. Show them some love. Hope those of you that celebrate have a good and safe 4th of July.
Be part 2 of how my stepbrother killed our dog and fed it to me and my little sister for dinner. So like I said, I got home from the grocery store and our dog didn't run up to the door like she usually did. I didn't think much of it and then I smelled something coming from the kitchen. What could he possibly be cooking if there's no groceries? And no, I didn't automatically think, oh, he's cooking our dog. Just hold on. Whatever was cooking on the stove smelled like shit. It made the whole house stink, but like I said, I didn't think too much of it. Now that I think of it, I heard the laundry machine going and my family had a set schedule for laundry. Like, we never did laundry off schedule, so that was kind of weird. My parents are just very organized people, besides the point. So I go upstairs to wake up my little sister and I see my stepbrother pass me and go down to the kitchen. An hour or so goes by and he calls us downstairs and says dinner is ready. All he did was boil some corn, give us canned peas, and some slab of meat. The meat was burnt, by the way, but I guess food is food. So we started eating this atrocious meal, and all I could think about were these tiny little hairs that just kept going in my mouth. I kept pulling pieces out my mouth. Mind you, this hair had no color. It was burnt. Now, our dog loved to eat dinner with us, but she was nowhere to be seen. I started looking for her, and I realized that she's missing.
Story time about how I got caught hooking up with my stepson. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It was sent to me on Instagram. My husband actually cheated on his wife with me. I started working at his company when I was 18. We started an affair and I knew it was wrong, but at the time I was very broke. He offered me a wealthy lifestyle and believe it or not, we fell in love. So when he and I got married, I was still 18. He was much older than me, he was 42. Everyone in town, of course, started hating me because I broke up the family. His wife couldn't even see my face. My husband already had 2 kids when we got married. One was 12, one was 15. So they were much closer in age to me than he was. The kids and I got along super well. I was their cool stepmom and we had a lot of fun. When I turned 20, the oldest boy came to live with us. And I think you already know what happens. My husband was always traveling for work. That means my stepson and I would be home alone most of the time. One night we decided to watch a movie and before I knew it, we were making out on the couch. From then, we basically started an affair behind my husband's back. Part 2 is up. Part 2 about how I got caught hooking up with my stepson. Disclaimer, this is not my story time. It was sent to me on Instagram. So like I said, my husband was always traveling for work. So my stepson and I would be alone in the house a lot. One night we were watching a movie and it just happened. After that, we couldn't get enough of each other. He even started skipping class so that he could spend more time with me. We basically turned into boyfriend and girlfriend when my husband wasn't there. When my husband would come home from his work trips, we would pretend like everything was normal. One day after my husband got back from one of his work trips, he found one of his son's socks in our bed. He asked me how it got there, but I told him it probably got stuck in there while I was washing the sheets. A few months passed by and my stepson and I are still hooking up. This is when I realized that I hadn't gotten my period in a few months. My period was always irregular, so I didn't think anything of it. My stepson went to the pharmacy to get me a pregnancy test. It came out positive. But the big problem is that my husband can't have children anymore. How was I going to explain this to my husband when he couldn't have kids? Part 3 is up. Part 3 about how I got caught hooking up with my stepson. Disclaimer, this is not my story time, it was sent to me on Instagram. My stepson and I take the pregnancy test and it turns out it was positive. Well, I told my stepson that his dad wasn't able to have kids anymore. That's when he really flipped out. Then he tells me we should just tell his dad the truth. I told him let's not do anything until we actually confirm that I'm pregnant. We go to the doctor the next day and it turns out I'm not pregnant. But this made me realize that we needed to end the affair. Once we got home, I told him we needed to break things off. He begged me not to and we went to his bedroom. Not even 2 minutes later, his mother walks in. She catches us on his bed. She nearly has a heart attack, calls his dad and tells him everything. She took him out of the house and told me never to see him again. When my husband came back from his trip, he made me promise not to see my stepson again. I told him we should get a divorce, but he said no. Then he confessed to me that he's been having an affair too. Now he doesn't even let me leave the house anymore. I want a divorce. What should I do?
My brother just had FaceTime me because he was at Sam's Club, and every time I tell B we going to Sam's Club, he like, who is Sam? Because he think we going to the club, so he like, who is Sam? Anyways, I'm doing my nails and shit. I just see something out the corner of my eye, but you know, I'm still doing my nails. So the thing came in my motherfucking nail room and sat right there. So I just started screaming. I'm like, go, go. He's sitting there looking at me crazy and shit. I'm like, B, let the dogs out. Let the dogs out. B done let the dogs out outside to use it. I'm all on the phone with my boyfriend like, hey, you gotta leave work. There's something in the basement. And da-da-da. He like, what is it? I'm like, it's a chipmunk.
So, story time, I guess. So, one time I had, like, this family come in. It was, like, 3 sisters and the mom or whatever. So, the first 2 sisters showed up in the morning. And then after the first 2 sisters came, I finished them. The other 2, like, the mom and the sister, came afterwards. Coincidentally, some homeless troll guy, whatever, he showed up. He was knocking on my door. He was like, he made this whole story up. And I was like, okay. And then he asked me for water. So, he had a cup with him. Don't know why. So I get his cup and I go back inside to get him water. And then my two clients are behind him. And like my first thought was like they came together, right? But no. Okay, so then like the sister that was inside of my house, she was like, oh, come in, like on the phone telling her like her mom. And the guy listened and he was like, oh, come in, I'm going in. So I had this cracked out. I'm telling you, he was cracked out. Like he had a blood eye in my house. Like tell me I was his savior. I was like, oh.
Story time about how my neighbor killed my dog. So a little background information. When I was about 3 years old, my parents got me a German Shepherd. And my neighbors who lived next to us absolutely loved our dog. And so did their kids. Like their dad literally put a doggy door in the fence, so that way our dog could go back and forth from our house to his house. Well, when I was about 8 years old, my neighbors decided to sell their house. So he told us that he had to take out the doggy door because the people that were buying his house hated animals. Well, the people who had just bought his house, they ended up moving in before he could take out the doggy door. So our new neighbors asked us if we could put like a piece of plywood in front of the door so that way our dog couldn't get through. And they said that they would do the same to their side of the fence. So my dad said, yeah, he put a piece of plywood in front of there. Well, my dog, Gabe, the one night that my brother let him out, he ended up getting the plywood off of the doggy door. Well, my brother literally had to crawl through the doggy door to get the dog before one of them saw him in the yard. Like for part 2 about how my neighbors killed my dog. So like I said, my brother let the dog out and my dog got the piece of plywood off of the door. And my brother had to crawl through the doggy door to get my dog out of our neighbor's.
Hope you guys liked this video and found it helpful. If you did, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel. It does help support us, and let's know what videos you guys want to see.